told to deliver this message. America was not built on a firm foundation. The nation called America was doomed from its inception. How do you build a nation? Killing the native people. How do you build a nation? Bringing a whole people out of Africa to America to be made slaves. This is your foundation. The world is looking at a country going to hell. You are opting to be a part of that is unraveling right in front of your eyes. You see the country cascading downward. This is America. Why do you want to get into something that is coming to an end? So we are living in the time of the unraveling of this great nation. Told to deliver this message.
Assalamu alaikum, family. It's your brother Landon X, NationTown TV. And as you can see, we are dealing with the infamous Karen invasion. We're going to touch on that in a moment, but let me just go ahead and start off in the proper fashion. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, I bear witness that there is but one God who appeared to us in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, this man that made himself known July 1930 almost exactly 90 years to the day. It will be 90 years this upcoming Saturday. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact, and down to the modern times, and I wouldn't know a thing about either of those men if it wasn't for this magnificent man that will be speaking to us, for us, the entire world, in less than 48 hours. I'm speaking of none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And in those three great names, I greet you all in the words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language of Assalamu alaikum. Shout out to everybody chiming in at NationTown TV land. I want to double down one more time on the fact that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be speaking to the world. To the world. Listen, the reason why, in my humble estimation, that he is emphasizing that he's speaking to the world is because those of us who are believers, those of us who are sympathizers and have been following the words and the guidance of this man for quite some time, we may be also eager to hear what he has to say, but we should know what he's going to say and the nature in which he's going to speak. But this message is for the world and all those in this wicked world, and I can't wait personally. And speaking of this wicked world, we're going to take a moment to talk about a phenomenon that's going on lately. The infamous Karen invasion. And I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to break it down as, you know, NationTown TV, as we do. But we also want to have visual aids. We want to have something so you know what we're talking about. Now, many of you, if you frequent social media, you know what I'm talking about. A Karen is essentially the name given to the devilish training of the white women who constantly harass black men and black women, even white people, at random, but particularly Aboriginal people. And what they do is they harass, they pull up, sometimes they're armed, sometimes they're so irate that they're screaming. They're accusatory of the brother or the sister. They act as if that brother or that sister has no right to be where they are. They think that that brother or that sister is up to something, regardless of who this brother or sister is. And it's been nicknamed Karen, and it's become a running joke on social media. And it is funny, but it ain't. I'm going to say that again. It is funny, but it ain't. We're going to go over a few of the more recent Karens. There's actually been anywhere from 30 to 40 of them. Now, if you're black, or Aboriginal, Hispanic, Native American in America, you deal with a Karen probably every day, or a Ken every day. But these that have been caught on video, that's the amazing thing about this. Just imagine, you know, how many Karens we've dealt with that have never been recorded. Keep in mind, the camera phone phenomenon is only about, 10, 15 years old, to the point where everybody has a phone in their camera. You know, at first, cameras on your phone was kind of a luxury, right? When it was transitioning from the flip phone to the so-called smartphone. But nowadays, everybody, the so-called Obama phones, the ones that you can get with government benefits, has a camera on it. So everyone, even children, are armed with camera phones. But just imagine how many Karens there were before this ever happened. How many incidents like these before everyone had cameras. But we're going to go into a few of them just to wet your beak, just to kind of refresh you in case you forgot of some of these Karen situations, and I'm going to name them off one by one as we go through. The first one we're going to deal with, I call this one Combat Karen. Combat Karen. Because this particular Karen is she's acting like she's in combat, but I want you to just watch it. And like I spoke on the last episode where we dealt with protecting our women, and I brought up the Sandra Bland video, and I told you to watch it with soft eyes and pay attention to everything on there, even the things that are not most obvious. I want you to do that with this one as well, and with all of these that I'm going to show you. I'm only going to show you a few. We actually not going to be on that long, but I do want you to hit us up with questions and comments. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Brother Cecil Still, Brother Kennard, Walter Richardson, Sherry Lynn, Giles, you know, our NationTown regulars. We appreciate y'all tuning in. But the first one is Combat Karen, and pay attention, pay close attention to our girl, Combat Karen.
She got the gun on me. He about to hit me with the car. Call him. I'm telling. Get the license plate. Get the license plate. Get the license plate now. Get the license plate now. Cause you were never about to hit me with the damn car. About to hit me with the car? Oh, both of y'all put guns on me, okay? Call Richard back up to the police. Call Richard back up here now.
I got it. Don't you fucking jump behind
me. No, I ain't jumping behind your car. I was walking. Your husband was hitting me. Do you see that? They both pointed that gun on me. He was trying to hit me with the car when I was going back. You seen that? And then when I hit his car, he wanted to jump out the car and put a gun on me. That is crazy. Trump making it real comfortable. Call the police. No, don't go anywhere. Call the police. 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 You about to hit me with the car. These
A couple of things that caught my eye in this particular video. First of all, pay attention to how scared and how afraid Combat Karen appears to be. I've always wondered that. You know, I grew up in the hood. I've seen my fair share of guns, gun fights, people with guns. I always found it interesting that even though people feel like they have power with a gun, in almost 75 to 80% of the instances where I've seen people in a conflict situation with a gun in their hand, even police who are professionally trained with guns, they look so damn scared. What are you so afraid of? Okay, you got a gun in your hand. What does the other one have? A tank? Did the sister have a tank? What is that? But notice how just jittery and high strung she is. And she's the one with the gun. Shouldn't you be laid back? Shouldn't you be confident? But keep paying attention. Now we're going to call this one Campground Karen. Campground Karen. And once again, pay very close attention.
Felt it. I felt the heat from it. I felt it in her eyes. I knew exactly what it was.
Jessica Richardson says she and her husband were looking to spend the holiday weekend picnicking with their dog, possibly even renting a cabin. She says they Googled a nearby Campgrounds of America location and decided to drive there. And that's when things took a turn for the worse.
She jumped out and the gun was pointed at me, my husband, and our dog. It was just pointing at us. And one finger was on the trigger. The other finger was on the, I always forget the
on the lever.
On the lever of the revolver.
Richardson says that's when she pulled out her cell phone. The woman holding the gun identified herself as the property manager, but her choice of words were less than professional.
She was just like, get, you don't belong here, you don't belong here, you don't belong here.
Richardson says the confrontation was shocking.
Time stopped, everything stopped.
Yeah, I was confused with what was going on.
Right.
Because, I mean, we ain't like we were posed to threaten anybody. We're out there walking our dog. I mean,
right.
There's nothing harmful about that.
The fact that she used get like we were a dog. You know, you say get to a stray dog that's on your porch. Mm-hmm. And that get got to me more than you don't belong here.
On the way out, they...
Now, there's a few things I want to talk about with this particular situation. First of all, the words that Campground Karen used. You don't belong here. get, like the sister said, almost as if they were dogs. And I believe the video, I don't know if it cut out before, but toward the end of the video, she pointed out that they went and talked to someone else on the campground. And it turns out that that someone else was Campground Karen's husband. And Campground Karen's husband basically, you know, didn't have a problem with them being there, told them that you don't need a permit to be on these campgrounds. And here's why I point that out. This man is married to Campground Karen. So to those of you who believe that you have collected a collection of good white people in your life, white friends, white buddies, white girlfriends, white boyfriends, classmates, look how close someone who's like a Campground Karen can be to someone who appears to be not racist, appears to be. And keep in mind, racism has nothing to do with words, has nothing to do with being called a nigger, has nothing to do with getting kicked off of a campground by somebody with a gun. The worst aspects of racism are the institutional racism that keeps you oppressed, that keeps you out of a certain job, keeps you out of a certain position, keeps you out of your basic human rights. The institutional racism is what we should be concerned with, not just somebody calling you a nigger. I wish that the worst that came from white people was just them calling us niggers. If that was the case, we would rule the United States of America. If that was the only thing holding us down, if that was the worst thing that came from white people, was the fact that they called us niggers, I'd take that any day. Because we would actually be running this country, because that means that slavery didn't happen. That means that all the institutional concepts that they built and weapons that they've you know, formed against us would never have happened. It's just based on them, you know, throwing some harsh words at us. Like they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Same thing goes with racist words as opposed to institutional racism. I got one more for you. This one, I got two names for this one. Y'all can help me pick one out after you see the video. You can either call this one Coughing Karen or COVID Karen. Let's take a look at COVID, the Coughing Karen. Pay very close attention.
Do you really need this? What do you want to do? Post it for you? How about that? Good. I think I'll get real close to you and cough on you then. How's that?
Oh,
asshole.
Wow. No. No. No way.
Let's go.
Now, how this white woman avoided getting her head knocked off in this situation, I don't understand. I mean, this is really, in this day and age, what she just did is the same as combat Karen. You know, I mean, in the COVID-19 era, she's going to cough on somebody, which is almost as bad as spitting on someone. And considering the diseases that are out there, you know, but the thing that caught my eye on this one was the child in the background. Her little girl watching the whole thing play out. So what you have now is generational Karenship or generational racism. And please believe, and not to justify what COVID Karen is doing, but please believe that she probably saw her own parents. I'm talking about the adult Karen in this video doing something similar, or even, you know, going around the house. You know, just think of what you probably hear in all of these Karen households, even the ones that you work with, the ones that you went to school with. So this is a lineage of racism, a lineage of, as I call it, Karenship. I got another one for you. This one we're gonna call, and I'm sure many of you have seen this one. If you haven't, it's both hilarious, as they all are. They're hilarious and sad at the same time. This one is Canine Karen.
This morning of a Central Park confrontation gone viral.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
NBC News does not have the full video, its context unknown. But Christian Cooper, who describes himself as an avid bird watcher, tells NBC station WNBC he was in the park when he asked Amy Cooper, no relation, to put her dog on a leash.
If the habitat is destroyed, we won't be able to go there to see birds, to enjoy the plantings.
Cooper says she refused, and he then offered her dog a treat.
At some point, she decided that, I'm going to play the race card, I guess.
And that's when, he says, he began recording the incident.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to me.
I'm taking pictures of the cop.
When Christian refused to stop recording her, the video shows Amy Cooper grabbing her dog's collar, moving away, and dialing 911.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
There is an African-American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man in the ramble. Please send the cops immediately. I'm in Central Park.
Overnight, Amy Cooper apologizing, also speaking exclusively to WNBC.
It was unacceptable.
Saying she overreacted and regrets calling the police.
When I think about the police, I think of them as a protection agency. And unfortunately, this has caused me to realize that there are so many people in this country that don't have that luxury.
Late Sunday, her employer, Franklin Templeton, put her on administrative leave, tweeting, "We take these matters very seriously, and we do not condone racism of any kind."
Once again, shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Shout out to the ageless one, Brother Philip Muhammad, Brother LaDexter, as well as Brother Kennard, Brother Hakeem. Make sure y'all sharing this video. Share, like, and make sure you share this and get this information out, because we need to talk about Karen, like I said. Now, in the video that you just saw, this one is the one that I think we should really study for a couple of reasons. First of all, the scenario lie that she put together right there. She was upset for whatever reason, and she said, "I'm going to call the police and tell them that an African-American man is threatening my life." Now let's think legally for a minute here. She is admitting there, because she just can't say, "Oh, I wasn't in my sound mind. I was upset. I was having a bad day." See, when you really are being irrational and out of your mind in 5150, your logic shuts down. That's the first casualty. Logic just goes out the window when you really are just losing your mind. But when she says that she's going to call the police and claim that a black man, an African-American man, has threatened her life, that shows wicked logic. That proves that she knows that there's a good chance that the NYPD, this is in New York City, ironically it's in Central Park, what used to be an upscale black neighborhood before they tore it down to build New York City around it. But anyway, that proves that the logic in her brain is operational. Now, it's wicked logic, it's sad logic, but it proves that she's thinking. So she can't say, "Oh, I don't know, I was tripping. Don't hold it against me." No, you were thinking. You were upset, but you were thinking. Secondly, some information about K9 Karen came out after this video. Turns out that she was a mortgage broker. It also turns out that she's a card-carrying liberal, a card-carrying Democrat. And when she was pleading for forgiveness, she also pointed out how she has, and these are her words, how she has often volunteered for causes against discrimination. I'm going to say that again in this George Floyd protest hour. in this Black Lives Matter hour, where everybody seems to be on this Black Lives Matter thing, everybody of all colors, she said that she has a history of volunteering and involving herself in causes that are anti-discrimination. Think about that. Next time you out there protesting and you got some good old white boy or white girl next to you. Now, I saved the best for last. I saved the best for last. Or should I say the worst for last? This one, we're going to call, some of y'all probably even know which one it is. This is one of the more recent ones. And this one, I mean, it's like the end boss. You know, like on video games, you got that boss at the end. You know, you knocked off all the little minor bosses, the little peon bosses, and now to win the game, to end the game, to save the princess, you got that last King Cooper you got to deal with. And what makes this the boss is because it's not one, but two. Not only is it two, but it's a married couple. So we're going to call this one KKK, because this is a we're gonna call this one KKK because it's a crazy Karen couple. Let's watch the KKK.
Pointed guns at demonstrators in St. Louis who were protesting the mayor's decision to dox her own residents who support defunding the police. So this happened in an upscale gated community. It's Central West End neighborhood. And it all started when the mayor, Linda Crewson, decided to do a Facebook video, which has now been taken down, where she read letters that had been sent to her by people who want to defund the police. Now, she shared the names of these individuals and also their addresses. So that, of course, made some of the demonstrators upset, and they wanted to protest in front of the mayor's home. So the group of at least 500 people was heading toward Mayor Linda Crewson's home, chanting, "Resign, Linda, take the cops with you." Resignation demands come after a Facebook Live briefing on Friday, where she had read the names and addresses of several residents who wrote letters to the mayor suggesting to defund the police. Now, since she lives in this gated community, the protesters needed to break through a gate to the gated community in order to get to her home. And as they were walking by this one giant mansion, they were met with the armed residents of that mansion. We have a video, which I'm sure many of you have already seen, but for those of you who haven't, here are the two personal injury attorneys who live in this neighborhood brandishing weapons.
The KKK, the crazy Karen couple. And the thing about this, once again, they're armed. Once again, they look afraid. They look more afraid than any other protesters, the unarmed protesters on the street. But there's some background about these two. They're both injury lawyers. They call them ambulance chasers. These are the ones that you see in your city on billboards. You know, have you been hurt at the job? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you slipped and fell? And call me at 1-800-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. They're that kind of lawyer. And what's interesting about that, there was another video I was going to add to this, but for the sake of time, and I couldn't find the video at that particular moment, is that there's a video where a black couple who are also both lawyers are being harassed by Karen in their neighborhood that they live in. And I find it interesting how you got a couple of lawyers here, you know, who are the antagonists, the Karens, and then you had a situation where there was a brother and a sister, a black man and a black woman who were lawyers. But in this situation, you know, it's obvious that these two are drinking the Trump Kool-Aid. If you're white and you sit up, first of all, it's their nature, because we're going to get into why these Karens are what they are. I'm going to bring up some reasons, and then we're going to go into the teachings. as we like to do on NationTown TV. But there's a few things that come to mind with this one. One, let me point this out. There was a really good meme that I saw on social media that said that Fox News is doing to white parents what white parents thought hip-hop would do to their children. If you're white and you watch Fox News, you will believe at the end of the day that black people are coming to take everything that you have. Hispanics are coming to rob you and rape you, you know, and you know, you better have your gun ready. You better be prepared because they're coming. And there's reasons why they act like that, and that's what we're going to get into. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Brother said that's biological warfare, talking about COVID-19, Karen. Absolutely. Brother said good teaching, Brother Daniel. All praises due to Allah. But the question has to come up, why? Why are they acting like this? First of all, is it new? Is this something that they just started doing? Or is this something that they've always done? Now, I got a few, I guess you could say, theories as to why they do this. A few things that really point to the issue here. First of all, it's guilt. Guilt. There's nobody that feels more guilty than a thief who appears to have gotten away with thieving. Nobody is more guilty and acts more nervous and defensive than a murderer who appears to have gotten away with murder. White people know history. Like Canine Karen, who says she's going to call the police and say that a black man is threatening her. She is fully aware of Black Wall Street and the 1991 massacre. She's fully aware of Rosewood. She's fully aware of Emmett Till. She's fully aware of everything that's going on. These are intelligent white people. None of the ones I just showed you, and I did this for a reason. There's another one that's also very popular of this redneck with a Confederate flag talking about she's going to teach her children to be just as hateful as her. I didn't want to put that one up because I wanted to make sure I put some Karens up there who look like they've read a book or two. Just to show you that these ain't toothless rednecks. They know what they're doing. And they know their people's history, so they're guilty. A lot of them have nightmares every day of the day that you wake up, that the black man, the brown man, the Native American man, that you wake up, realize what they've done, realize what's been done to them, and in their nightmares, they come back for revenge. I was watching an interview of Stephen King, or maybe it was an article I was reading, but it was Stephen King, the world famous horror writer who's written probably every good scary movie you've ever seen. He wrote the book that it's based off of, Pet Sematary, you know, all that good stuff, The Shining. And they asked him, the person that was interviewing him asked him, where does he get his ideas from? And he said, a lot of my ideas come from my nightmares. My nightmares. And I just laughed and I smiled and I thought about the teachings when he said that. Even if you look at zombie movies, The Walking Dead, 28 Days Later, these are people that died, but they're still walking and they're still coming for you. And the only way you can kill them is if you stab them or shoot them in the brain. Think about that. Think about what Stephen King said about nightmares and then think about that. But guilt has to be the #1 reason. They know who they are, and when they see a black face, they assume the worst. They feel like the jig is up. Especially that last one, the KKK, the crazy Karen couple. They've been watching Fox News. Fox News is telling them that Black Lives Matter is coming for them. They're going to kick in their door. They're going to rape their children, rape their little funny-looking white daughter, you know, knock the braces out of her mouth or whatever. You know, knock the freckles off her face. So these are their nightmares. So this is why they buy guns. Do you know white people were not even big connoisseurs of guns until the Emancipation Proclamation? Look that up. And every time there's something that goes on in the world that's beneficial to black people in any kind of way, gun sales to white people skyrocket. The election of Barack Obama, gun sales skyrocketed. This recent Black Lives Matter situation, even though it was a negative thing, gun sales skyrocketed. Emancipation Proclamation, gun sales skyrocketed. It's because they're scared and they're guilty. Another reason, and I want you to think, really carefully on this. But let me go back, before I go to the next thing, shout out to everybody chiming in. Make sure you share the video. Share. But going back to the guilt thing, there are two normal reactions to when you're guilty, when you know you wronged somebody. Two very common reactions that just human beings, regardless of race, that you have when you know that you wronged somebody. One knee-jerk reaction is you get very defensive. You're always ready for a fight because you know that you deserve to get stolen on. You probably deserve for that particular person or people to take off on you, to come back for revenge. So you're always defensive. You're always on edge. But then there's a second side effect or manifestation of guilt that we probably don't realize. Being overly sympathetic or pretending to be overly sympathetic. When you're guilty and you know you're the one or your people who you have done nothing to try to stop them, nothing to try to make them pay for what they've done, when you know that you've done something terrible to someone, and if you don't choose to be defensive, the other reaction is I'm going to pretend to be overly sympathetic. So I'm going to march with you. I'm going to stand by you. I'm going to wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. I'm going to put a Black Lives Matter placard outside my house. I'm going to do everything short of giving you the retribution and reparation that you really deserve. See, that's when I'll believe all of these, pale face, as our Native Americans brothers and sisters call it. When I'll start believing these pale-faced protesters when they start urging their people, their government that serves them, to cut the check, and they point out that they are willing personally to take a cut out of their checks, take a cut out of their, increase their taxes in order to repair us. Then I'll believe it. I ain't gonna lose no sleep waiting on them to do this, but then I will believe it. Now, another reason that I believe that there's this apparent rise. I really don't think there's a rise in Karens. I just think it's something that's always happened. And like I said, it's just everybody and their mama. You got dogs with camera phones now. But one of the reasons that it's really seeming to reach a boiling point is because Karen and Ken, white men, white people, white women, they are very territorial. They are very territorial. And they have a war mindset right now. And many of them think they're losing that war. They're very territorial and they have a war mindset. But where is that coming from? How is it that the richest people on the earth, nobody can claim to have more money than the Caucasian? The people with the best health care all over the world, nobody can claim to have better health care. The people who almost every government serves them on a silver platter, every law in America leans to their advantage. Why are they so paranoid, and why are they so on edge? Why do they have a war mentality? Well, there's something that I think they realize that a lot of us don't, and it's this right here. These are actual receipts. These are actual facts. This is the number of births and deaths among whites in the United States between 1999 and 2016. So from a statistical standpoint, this is brand new, up-to-date information. You'll rarely see statistics from last year or last week. The best statistics that are scientific, they take a few years to confirm and to gather. But what you see at the top, the green line, are births of white people dating back to the year 2000 or 1999. The blue line at the bottom that's going up are the number of deaths. If you notice, between 2014 and 2016, the years are at the bottom. They collide. Like two freight trains on the wrong track. They collide. And after the collision, the blue line is reaching higher than the green line, meaning that as of right now, the Caucasian, despite having the best health care that money can buy, despite every law and every court being in their favor, despite having a stranglehold on almost every economy on this earth, despite tricking this entire world where white people are outnumbered 11 to 1, you would think that they just have everything in their court, but somehow more of them are dying than being born. This is the manifestation of what's in the scripture when it says, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. Every weapon that they formed against the Aboriginal man has failed. Because black people in the piss poor condition that we're in, Hispanic people in the piss poor condition we're in, and even Native Americans in the terrible condition that they're in, even on their reservations, all three of those groups, including the Asians, have a positive birth rate, meaning there are more of us being born than dying. There's only one conclusion to explain that. It's really not a scientific conclusion. It's only the fact that God is on somebody's side in this equation, and it ain't Karen's. Now, the next question, the next reason I would say that they are extremely nervous. Well, before I go there, I got a question to ask. Now, I normally ask you all to hit us with questions, and shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Brother Hakeem Muhammad says guilty, absolutely. Dear brother, but shout out to everybody that's chiming in. Again, make sure you share this video. Normally, we ask you for questions and comments. I'm going to flip it. Now, I'm not going to be on long, so I'm not going to really wait for your answer. If you can type really fast, hit me up. But I got a question. I got a couple of questions. The first question I have is pretty simple. Is Karen wrong? And by Karen, I mean white people in general. Is Karen wrong for being territorial and war-minded? Hit me up. Hit me up. You either going to have a 3-letter answer or a 2-letter answer. Is Karen wrong for being territorial and war-minded? Y'all tell me that. Is she wrong? Is she wrong for this? Because I really have news for you. It's really not a bad thing to be territorial. And it's definitely not a bad thing to have a war mindset when you are in a war. The worst thing you can do is be in a war and think it's a game. It's better to be in a game and be prepared for war than to be in a war and all you want to do is sport and play. So Karen has a territorial mindset. Why are you here? You don't belong here. Go to your own neighborhood. You cause a threat. Let me go grab my gun and aim it at you. You are a threat to my people and my community. I don't know if she's really wrong. We should be more territorial as Aboriginal people. Why do you walk up in that gas station and there's people that don't look like you behind the counter? They got this thick plexiglass, bulletproof glass, and they mean mugging you the whole time. Non-existent customer service. Some of them claim to be Muslims and they selling you pork and alcohol. Your neighborhood is under attack. Why are you not more territorial when it comes to your enemy? We should be just as territorial. We should have a similar mindset. Why is it that Caucasians and most, like right now, I proudly live in South Central Los Angeles. You know, when I lived in Atlanta, I proudly lived in Southwest Atlanta. And in the town I was born and spent the first 17 years of my life, Tulsa, Oklahoma, in North Tulsa. But why is it that in every so-called black community that I go to, white people are actually safer there than we are? I'm gonna talk about that in a minute, because the thing about territory is not just about territory, it's also about environment. I'm not feeling the tears when we run into a Karen and we feel so bad. Why are they doing? You saw the couple from the campground. Why are they doing this? Oh my God. Because there's power in numbers. Everybody knows this. And for the sake of a little bit of levity, I'm gonna bring up this professor who's gonna break down just how power in numbers and being amongst your own can deal with this Karen situation. And this is coming from a lecture from the 1990s from a world-renowned philosopher by the name.
No, excuse me. Can you tell me where I can get some toothpaste from? If you look up on aisle 6, it says it. It says toothpaste. You just have to fucking read toothpaste. Use your vowels. A lot of gang of black people ask that same shit. Excuse me. Can you tell us? Where we can get some toothpaste from? Sure, I'll show you. Come on. What are you looking for? Colgate, M.A.A.M, what do you want there? Tartar Control?
That was my brother Martin Lawrence, probably one of the best stand-up routines ever. You So Crazy. And what he was describing is the experience that we get from white people when we're in an environment where we have numbers as opposed to when they have numbers, when they're in their comfort zone versus when we're in our comfort zone. And that could be the reality if we truly separate. Right now we're segregated. We live amongst each other, but we hate each other. But even in that condition, when white people come to our community, they're scared. They really shouldn't be, because we won't harm a hair on their head while harming each other. But when we're in numbers and we're amongst our own, that's why I know that, none of these Karen videos are in the hood. You notice that? And if you think that's a coincidence, I got, a bridge to sell you. None of these are in the hood, or even close to the hood. These are situations where we decided I'm going to go to a good store, which means a white store. I'm going to go and live in a good neighborhood, which is code word for a white neighborhood. I'm going to go to a good park. Code word, well, the parks in the hood, they don't have all the stuff I want. Well, okay. Karen takes care of her park. One thing I also like about the war mentality that Karen has, she takes that war mentality to everything in her community. She takes that war mentality to her PTA meetings. That's why their schools are better. Not because their children are smarter, not because the bricks in the wall are better, the copper wiring in the roof is better, because of something in the dirt that it was built. It was built on top of an Indian reservation, an Indian graveyard that makes all the children smart. It ain't nothing spooky. They're involved in their schools. They contribute to their schools. For example, right now, if your child goes to a public school or a Caucasian school, they're going to go there and they're going to have books, history books, that are going to teach your black child, your Native American child, your brown child, that Christopher Columbus was the first human being to step foot in the Western Hemisphere. He discovered America. Now, technically he did. He discovered America for this new baby people who just got here 6,000 years ago, but he didn't discover it for the world. But they're teaching your child that. History books that have no trace of one of the greatest black men that have ever walked the earth. History books. Some history books these days even portray slavery as if it was optional. That's an actual fact. And your child comes home from that school, they even come home with those history books, and you don't even look into them. You don't have a problem with all of that foolishness that's been fed into their brain. Now let me pull up on a white school and start handing out copies of Message to the Black Man to all these little white boys. And white people are nosy, so the little white boys and the white girls, they'll take it. They'll say, wow, who is this? Wow, he's got the whole universe on his head. That's awesome. And if they took that book home to their children, to their parents, and said, Mom, look what they gave me at school today. Many of those white parents, they'll know what they're looking at on sight. The ones who don't, they'll take the book out of their hand and go through it. And they'll see chapters in Message to the Black Man like the bloodshed. They'll see verbs and words and phrases like the white man is the devil. And I'm telling you, Karen will lose her mind. She will turn up and turn that whole PTA meeting upside down. She'll flip every table in that mug. She will threaten, her husband will be right behind her with an AK-47. The hell you're doing teaching my child that the white man is the devil? Who's this Elijah Muhammad? I mean, they will lose their mind. When was the last time a black parent went in a white school or a public school and said, why the hell are you teaching my child this? Why does this school campus feel more like a prison than a school? What's going on here? A lot of our parents don't even come to the PTA meetings. Any teachers watching, you know what I'm talking about. Just got to call a spade a spade. Now, going back to that question, I posed the question. Are they really wrong? Are they really wrong for being war-minded and territorial? And the basic answer is they're not. But I also have some trivia for you. I won't say trivia because trivia is meaningless information. I got some very meaningful information for you. Just like, listen, the only thing the white man invented was maybe baseball and definitely niggas. Them are the only two things that he invented, baseball and niggas. And there's a sport in Australia that was invented by the Aborigines that's similar to baseball, so I ain't even sure if he invented baseball. But niggas, he definitely invented that. Everything else, he got from us, including the idea of a Karen. And here's what I mean by that. He didn't even invent Karens. And what I mean by Karen in this context is a person who sees somebody in their environment, in their neighborhood that they don't like. And since they don't like them and they don't like the way they're behaving or how they think they're going to behave, they don't like the way they look even, they do everything they can, call the police, pull out a gun, do whatever they got to do to drive those people out of their land. In the Nation of Islam, we have something called the Supreme Wisdom. And in those lessons, it's 40 pages of wisdom. Damn near every syllable in this book, you can write a whole volume of encyclopedias on. There's one section of it called Lost Found Muslim Lesson. It's number 1 and number 2. But in Lost Found Muslim Lesson number 1, and in the first question, question number 1, it asks the question, why isn't the devil settled on the best part of the planet Earth? And the answer is because the earth belongs to the original black man. And knowing that the devil was wicked and there would not be any peace among them, he put him out in the worst part of the earth and kept the best part preserved for himself ever since he made it. So we the original Karens. What happened to us? Why are we no longer driving people out? And I'm not talking about violently. I'm not talking about in an ignorant fashion, pulling out guns and all of that, even though we do all of that to each other. But I just mean, why Why is it when we see gentrification, we just lay down? Some of us even get happy. We get excited. That's why Brad and Karen can walk their dogs through what used to be called the jungles here in Los Angeles, and walking their dogs through, what used to be Cabrini Green projects in Chicago. Because some of us are happy to see white people when we see them. But the Supreme Wisdom Lessons goes on. In that same lesson, Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, question number 4. It says, why did we run Yaqub and his maid devil from the root of civilization, over the hot desert, into the caves of West Asia, as they now call it Europe? What is the meaning of EU and rope? How long ago? What did the devil bring with him? What kind of life did he live? And how long before Musa came to teach the devil of the forgotten technology? And the answer is, because they had started making trouble among the righteous people, telling lies. They accused the righteous people, causing them to fight and kill one another. So these lessons given to us by Master Fard Muhammad, answered by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and then parsed through guidance and example through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, basically tell us that we are the original Karens. We are the ones who made the decisions on who comes and who goes in a particular place. But since we have been made from gods to niggas, and we've been broken into this grotesque version of what we used to be, we no longer have that ability. Now we just pull out our cell phone, our smartphone, and then we cry in the interview. I don't know why they treat. I thought racism was over. So that's why we have that mentality. We used to be the ones that would say, wait a minute, sir, why are you here? What are you? What is your business here? Now, again, I'm not advocating hurting anybody in our communities who don't belong there. Just do something as simple as not support them. Keep your dollar away from them. Don't call them a name. Don't aggress on them. If they speak to you, speak back. But at least make it known through your actions that you are not with them being in your community. But in order for you to adequately do that and really, execute that, you got to love yourself. See, when you don't love yourself and you find fault in yourself more than anybody else, then when you see a white man, you see the cavalry, you see godliness. You know how they say cleanliness is next to godliness? In the Negro mind, nearness to white people is next to godliness. And that's real talk. And that's in almost every religion. In Christianity, a black Christian measures his level of Christianity based on how much love he can have for his oppressor, for the white man. There are even Orthodox Muslims who feel as though they are superior versions of a Muslim or real Muslims simply because not their knowledge and tafsir of the Holy Quran, but because their traditions and the traditional things that they do and wear is more like the whitest version of a Muslim, which is the Arab in the Middle East. So they think whiteness or nearness to whiteness is close to godliness. Now, before we get out of here, I got to ask another question. Shout out to everybody chiming in. Everybody hit me up. Appreciate you, Brother Hakeem, Sister Deborah, Brother Tevis. Hakeem and Deborah said, hell no. Well, they ain't say it like that, but I know that was in their thoughts. I say it for them. The last question I got to ask before we get out of here, and then we're going to hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan after this. I got another big question. Y'all ready for this? Do we, the black Aboriginal people, act like Karen to one another? I'm going to let that one marinate. Do we, the black and Aboriginal people here in America, do we act like Karen toward one another? Now, we all know the answer to this. Hell yeah. We are Karen to each other. like I told you, I proudly live in South Central Los Angeles. But even before I stepped foot in Los Angeles, I grew up in a gang-infested neighborhood, the same gangs that originated here. And I grew up having the experience that every time I went on a street that I had never been on before, or a neighborhood I had never been to before, I got hit with a question. Where you from, cuz? Where you from, blood? Where your mama stay? Where your daddy stay? What set you claim? Even when we just see each other out in public. Don't let it be in a white neighborhood, you there, and another brother or sister happens to be there. Sometimes one of y'all or both of y'all will look at each other like y'all both runaway slaves or something, or slaves with a travel pass. Nigga, how you get off the plantation? I supposed to be the only nigga here. Some of y'all watching this are guilty of that. You see another brother or sister, you don't think, oh man, there go my brother. You think, how this nigga get here? I thought I was the only nigga that knew where this store was. Tell the truth. But we act like caring to each other. Not only do we bang on each other, as far as gang banging, but we even act like that on a relationship level. I mean, call a spade a spade. There are black men who look at black women, and because of a couple of negative experiences that they had, let's face it, there's no such thing as a black man who has dated even 20% of black women. But every black man swears up and down, especially the ones who have negative feelings about sisters, they swear up and down that they know everything about every black woman, and their verdict is black women ain't shh. Especially the ones who love Becky and Karen. Same thing with the sisters. So quick to generalize black men based on a couple of raggedy Negroes that you mess with. Even if it was 15 of them, it's 25 million of us just in America. And we ain't all gay, we ain't all locked up, we ain't all broke. And I hope you ain't slept with 50% of black men, which is the amount that you need. I think you need at least 10% to have a scientific survey. I hope you have not. It's 25 million of us. I hope it ain't no sister out there who has dated or laid down with 10% of 25 million. That's a lot of action. But look how we generalize each other. That's what Karen is doing on all these videos. They're generalizing black skin. They see a black man or a black woman or both, and they generalize. And they may have had somebody, let's be honest, some of these Karens probably had some bad experiences with black people. Some of them probably got hit upside the head and robbed. Hey man, charge it to the game. It may have happened. But does that justify their actions? It doesn't? Oh, okay. Well, let's remember that when we dealing with each other. Let's remember that when we let what we see on TV or social media make us think that all black women are this, or not doing this, or can't do that, or always doing this and that. Let's think about that when we make a claim like, oh, black men don't protect black women. We are so unprotected. Now, overall, that's true. But when you know the teachings of this man, that man, and that man, which is one teaching, and you know the brothers that produces, then you should know better than that. Same thing to the brothers. If you know about this guy, or should I say man, this man, and that man, then you should know the real value of the woman. So why are we generalizing each other? So the answer is quite clear. We absolutely do caring each other. We absolutely behave like caring with each other on a daily basis. We do it in the so-called conscious community. Conscious. They're supposed to be the smart. They're supposed to be the best and the brightest. You see a brother with a bow tie, and you read 2 books yesterday. You read the Bible for the first time. Your grandma could never get you to even crack a Bible open, but now, you ran into some brothers standing on the corner, with family reunion shirts on with fringes on them, and they done told you a few things about the Bible, most of these things the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught 60 years ago. And now you see a brother with a bow tie, and now you want to deal treacherously with him, like it says in the Old Testament. Or brothers with bow ties. You see a brother that's a Hebrew Israelite or a Moor, and instead of saying, oh, there go my brother, there go my comrade in this struggle, instead of that, you want to go back and forth over semantics and trivia of religion, instead of looking at the commonality between the two of you. Even within those ideologies, we bump heads. We Karens with bow ties, Karens with crosses around our neck, Karens with fringes, Karens with with tassels swinging around our head, with fezzes on. Karens with Kemet t-shirts, and I mean, we Karens. And I think that's what really bothers us about Karen, is that just like her people, understand that the white man God created the white man. God created the white man to show forth his power, but also to show us our own worst part. Everything the white man does that bothers you, that came from you. So he made a manifestation of your worst part, so you'll know just how much your ish stank. So with that said, family, I appreciate y'all chiming in. Shout out to everybody that's viewing. Alishay Taylor, I see you. All praises due to Allah, and everybody else chiming in. But we're going to end this in the proper fashion and hear from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And let me give a little backdrop on what the minister is saying on this video. In this video, the minister is talking about, which is what's basically prophecy. Now, Karen, compared to the police murders, compared to the vigilante murders of Ahmaud Arbery and Trayvon Martin, you know, we can joke about the Karens, but the Karens and the George Zimmermans are cut from the same cloth. So what the minister is talking about, everything that's going on right now, it's basically what the scripture talks about with the fiery serpents. And let me bring that up before the minister speaks. He's talking about the fiery serpents, not necessarily in this video, but he has taught on this. In the book of Numbers, it points out that God, in order to get us in shape, now let me give you some backdrop on this. This is Moses. He's freed the people of Egypt and he's taken them to the promised land. But to get to the promised land, you got to go through a wilderness. America in the times that we live in is a wilderness right now. But it says in the book of Numbers 21:5, and the people spoke against God. Sound familiar? And against Moses. Sound familiar? Why have you brought us up out of Egypt to die in the wilderness, aka America? For there is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loathes this light bread. They're mad about the menu. They're mad about the menu. They're mad that Moses didn't instantly, after 400 years, and this is prophecy, not history, after 400 years of being a slave and getting the worst treatment known to humankind, they mad because they just got to go over the desert for a minute. That the menu is not diverse enough. Man, we still eating this same old bread every day, Moses. Man, you tripping. Are we a people that are rejecting God right now? Are we a people that are rejecting God's man right now? Absolutely. So here was God's retaliation for such foolishness. 21:6, and the Lord sent fiery serpents among the people, and they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a lot of what we see right now is because of our own rejection to truth and the many messengers that have been sent to us. That shows how merciful God is. He constantly giving you a reminder, but you don't like that reminder because he's asking you to clean up a little bit. You don't like that reminder because you think somebody else should be the reminder. And this is why God is kicking your ass. But I'm going to let the minister tell you.
You don't believe this white man is your enemy. So what God is going to do, since you have become an enemy to yourself, God is going to turn this white man loose on you. Since you like to kill, God got something for him, but he going to make him whoop the hell out of you. Mark my words. When you see it happening, remember, you heard it here.
Tatiana Jefferson shot and killed in her home by a Fort Worth police officer early this morning.
Put your hands up, come in. He's going to come in your house and start killing the members of your family. I said he's coming in your house and start picking out members of your family that you love and the better ones among you, and leaving the worst ones to suffer.
There it is, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Tune in, NOI.org. NOI.org. You don't need to go nowhere else. I don't even know what a fox soul is. Just go home. Just go to NOI.org. That should be your home page anyway. I don't care what religion you call yourself. Go to NOI.org. July 4th, less than 48 hours from now, and hear this man tell you the truth. And with that said, I'm going to leave you as I greeted you. I appreciate all of y'all chiming in, those who watch live and those who will watch afterward. I leave you as I greeted you in the words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
I was told to deliver this message. America was not built on a firm foundation. The nation called America was doomed from its inception. How do you build a nation? Killing the native people. How do you build a nation? Bringing a whole people out of Africa to America to be made slaves. This is your foundation. The world is looking at a country going to hell. You are opting to be a part of that is unraveling right in front of your eyes. You see the country cascading downward. This is America. Why do you want to get into something that is coming to an end? So we are living in the time of the unraveling of this. I was told to deliver this message.